Hey guys, how's everyone going today? I wanted to make a quick video on why having an Apple Watch or similar is essential, and it's something that has really changed my life. Now, I'm still in the shopping center. If you saw my previous video, but essentially, yeah, I'm just in the shopping center recording these videos. I have a bus in 25 minutes, so I thought I'd put 10 minutes towards making this video. But yeah, if you haven't watched the previous one, definitely have a look at it because a lot of the, I guess, references I'll make in here do kind of connect in a little bit, just, I guess, specifically for the Apple Watch segments. So, yeah, anyway, let's just get into it, into why exactly I think it's just super, super key to have one. Okay, so, I mean, the obvious point here is, what an Apple Watch is used for. And that's really just, it's an extension, right? Now, I mean, it is an extension of your phone. That's kind of how it works. It doesn't really work independently for the most part. I mean, it can, but that's not how it's, I guess, initially supposed to be set up as. But yeah, I think for me personally, my Apple Watch is my health, quote unquote counterpart to my daily life. Right? I do have two of them. So I have one here, and then I have one that I wear when I go to sleep at night, because obviously this one needs to charge, and then the one I use for sleep is charging right now, and then I swap them over. Right? I wear them every single day, and it's just yeah, it's just been amazing the things it can track and it can tell you, and just yeah, the feel good things that it will kind of push you to do each and every day. So for me, that's across exercise, right? So making sure I get in my steps, making sure I get in my walking, my mobility, my movement, making sure my heart rate is okay, and I'm not having a heart attack, or any kind of medication I'm using isn't impacting me too heavily. Sleep quality, that's really great for the one I wear at sleep, and even small things like reminders to drink water, reminders to stand up, reminders to potentially eat food if you're someone who has trouble doing that. So you can kind of integrate things in it to be a health counterpart where it will prompt you for just key things that I think are needed to be living a healthy life. It also does have some handy things, and I think this is the more recent models, but things like crash and fall detection. So if you get in a car crash or if you physically fall over and can't get up, it will detect that. It has SOS, so if potentially you're lost at sea or something like that, it can help track you down. Medication tracking. There's so many things, really. I mean, Apple Fitness is just absolutely insane with some of the things that they're able to do. Um, Definitely haven't looked into it, but I'm sure that there is a Samsung equivalent if you do own a Samsung or Android, right? If done right, it can look stylish enough to wear to work, the gym, and also out, potentially to the club. I personally have the Nylon Sports Band in black, so it's a little bit, it's almost like microfibery, where it's black, so it's not very, it matches well with the watch. So you can wear that to work easily. The gym, it's made of a material that sweat can easily be um, absorbed, and then it kind of you just wash it and it just goes away. Also out as well, just because it blends in, it'll blend in well with any kind of outfit. It's just very minimalistic and simple, similar to almost a Whoop band, right? So I think that works really well, and I've tried various different bands, and that's what works well for me. And the next one here is that my phone constantly runs out of battery, and it's because I'm doing things like keeping it on screen blaring all day pretty much. So it ends up running out of battery quite quickly, especially when I'm using it for work also. So my watch has saved me a lot of times. I end up actually a lot of time hotspotting from my phone to my watch, and I won't use my phone, like the LCD, but I'll use my watch to do things. Maybe it's listen to music, maybe it's text someone, maybe it's check timetables on TripView or the bus or the train. So it's definitely saved me many, many times. And one day I hope that I can charge my phone through my Apple Watch, but we'll see what happens. The next point here is quite interesting, and I thought this was quite relevant because I've spoken about this before, but it's that minimalistic approach to living life, right? So, excuse me, many people end up using their Apple Watch to replace their phone. So, calling people, messaging people, and other similar things, like, for example, tracking the bus timetable, or yeah, just pretty much anything, right? Even Spotify can be used on your Apple Watch. Lots and lots of different things, right? I'll get into that into the next slide. But yeah, if done right, and especially if it has cellular, you can essentially remove all the phone BS or things that kind of, they're not really required to have to have for a phone, right? A smartphone with TikTok and Instagram and social media and YouTube, right? That's one thing. But then having the key essentials that are required for a phone, for example, yeah, calling people, texting people, maybe it's listening to music, that you can have all that on your Apple Watch. So it could work really well having the only the essentials, right? It also works really well if you're someone who's always forgets their phone at home. Maybe your phone is always dying out of battery, or maybe you're just someone you like going for walks without your phone in the mornings. Maybe you like to travel around minimally. Maybe you just bring yourself to a lot of things. That could work really well. Now, I mean, it's not going to work well for everyone, but for those that it does, could be very interesting. Okay. Now, it works even better if you're someone who's prone to, being stuck on their phone a lot of the day, just because, I mean, you have a very small screen, so it's not going to be very interesting to watch content or to stare at it 24/7. It's good to have a quick checkup on things, but I mean, it's kind of nowhere near as engaging, right? And obviously, those apps don't go on the Apple Watch anyway, like TikTok and Instagram and all those things. So, could work really well, almost like a therapy of sorts to kind of help people get off their phones if they're really addicted to it. So that could work really well. And sorry for all the noise. I think someone sat next to me right before, so that's why you would have heard a lot of talking right then. Um, Now the last point here is how I make the most out of my Apple Watch. Right now, swapping between the two. So I do have two Apple Watches. I didn't start off with two Apple Watches. I started off with the one that I bought very cheap. I think it was like $50 or $100. I believe it was the very first one. So it wasn't. It was the Series Zero or Series One, and then I ended up buying I believe it was a Series Four, and then now I have a Seven. Right, the Four is what I use for sleeping, just because it's I mean, it's getting a little bit older. It's not as big. It doesn't have as big of a screen, and it's just perfect for tracking, sleep statistics. Right? Maybe not one that I'd use every single day to go out and use, but for sleeping, it's totally fine. Right? So that's what works well for me. I didn't have the Series 4 for quite a while. I only got it quite recently, just because I did want to get some insights into my sleep quality and whatnot. So for me, for the most part, it was just using a Series 7. I got used for $200, I think, something like that. It was a fairly good deal. It has a few nicks and scratches on the side, and I got the nylon band from eBay for, I don't know, maybe $5. So yeah, it works really well. And again, I'm wearing it pretty much 24/7, or at least a Apple Watch 24/7. With your Apple Watch, make sure you set up the fitness app. I think that's going to be a very crucial part. It's super extensive on, when you get it, the kind of things you can set up. So definitely look into that. And other crucial apps that you use daily, right? So, for example, authenticators. For me, a lot of the time I can approve things from my Apple Watch without needing my iPhone there. Or sometimes I just want to listen to Spotify and I can listen to music and have my AirPods connect to my watch. Whereas, obviously I don't need, I can leave my phone at home because my Apple Watch is talking to my AirPods, which has Spotify on it. And obviously, if you have premium or something similar, same as your iPhone, you can essentially download your songs onto your Apple Watch. So even if you don't have cellular, it can still work almost like you have cellular if you download your music onto your Apple Watch. So for health, right? Again, this is predominantly what I use it for. If you can integrate your Apple Watch along things like a smart scale, I recently got a Withings smart scale that I use most days. Some days I forget, and other apps as well. So for example, water reminders, maybe to track what you've eaten for the day, everything around health, right? If you can kind of integrate that, alongside a suite of health apps and different softwares, you're going to get a very comprehensive overview of your personal health situation, and also just the maintenance of that as well. So making sure it tracks your medications, whether you've fallen, whether you're, how you're feeling, are you exercising, pretty much everything. Absolute, game changer, right? And last point here, just reiterating what I said before, but personally, I think buying used and cheap is the best way to do it. Don't spend hundreds and hundreds knowing that you may not use it, or you're not sure about it, and especially if you don't actually know how to make the most of the Apple Watch. So, sometimes I see people buying the Apple Watch Ultra, which is a very, it's an expensive model, about, $1,000 or more Australian, and they're using it for the very basic things and not really what it's meant for. And you can do that, but would you rather, you can spend $1,000 on a watch that's meant for, hiking and ultra marathons, and you can wear it to work. That's fine, I guess. But what I've done instead is I've spent less than a quarter of that, and I've gotten the exact same thing because I'm not using those really expensive features. So, yeah, just the tip. I ended up buying cheap initially. This is my nice one for about $200. And one day, once I start doing ultra marathons and other similar things, I might end up getting the Apple Watch Ultra. So yeah, hopefully you guys have really enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, let me know down below. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.